Hello and welcome back. Now we are going to continue on with perimeter. We're doing perimeter of basic shapes for the homework. Now you're going to look at perimeter of what we call composite shapes. So the goal today, I can calculate perimeter of composite shapes. Fairly straightforward. Question is, and some of you are probably asking, what is a composite shape? So this is what a composite shape is. A composite shape is a shape made up from our basic shapes. From our basic shapes. All right. So an example, we could have a rectangle, and then we could construct a triangle on it. So that would mean that the composite shape would look like this. It would just be the red outline. All right. Or we could put a triangle. So let's make the triangle look like this. And we could put a half circle on it. So again, the red, the outline, would be the resulting composite shape. So there we are. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through and we're going to calculate perimeter of several composite shapes. All right, so our first example here, we are determining the perimeter of this shape. So the perimeter, again, is the outside distance around the object. So I'm going to highlight this in yellow. So this is the perimeter, that yellow length. How long is my yellow line? So we're going to use our perimeter formula that we talked about in the previous lesson, L1 plus L2 plus L3 and so on and so forth, until we've added up all the sides. Picking a location to start, so I'll start with the top here and I'm going to go clockwise. So I know that we have 25 feet plus 11 feet plus, if we look in here, we do not have a length. So how do we calculate that length? Well, you'll notice that we know the total distance across the composite shape from the top. So that was from that 25 off the top. I know that the small length here is given down below, and that's the 11 feet. So that means that the length I have circled here, and I'm going to circle a couple times, this length here is the full length, 25, minus, take off that small section there, minus 11. So it actually, in that area there that I've got circled, in here is 14 feet. So what you're going to find in the homework is that this information may not be provided. You may have to do a couple of little calculations to determine the missing length. So that means we can continue on our way now. So 25, 11, so we know the 14 now. Going down the side, I know my 9. Across the bottom is 11. And the final length is unknown. We don't know the red box here, that total height. Can we find it? I've given you enough information to go ahead and find it. And you'll notice that we do know the small length here. So that's the 11 feet. And we know the distance here, which is 9 feet. So 11 plus 9, that length there is going to be 20 feet. All right, so that gives us our missing measurement. So you will have to make some measurements, or you will have to make some calculations to find those missing measurements. So that's that goal of this first composite shape. There will be enough information, but you're going to have to work your way through it. So now we can go ahead and we can do the addition here. So we have 25, and I end up with a total value of 90 feet. So it's a total of 90 feet to go around this object. So therefore, perimeter is 90 feet. There we go. A couple more examples then. So the top example there is a funny shape, but the nice thing is there's 4 sides, and if you look at the shape, all 4 sides are provided. So basically the goal on this one is just for you to realize that you can find the perimeter of odd-looking shapes, especially if you already know the side lengths. So for this one, same thing. I'm going to start at the top and go clockwise. So 15 feet plus 20 feet. I know the bottom's 8, and I know the side's 16. So I'm going to go through, I make that calculation then. So using your calculators, 15 and 20, 8 and 16, grand total of 59 feet around that one. Okay, the final shape is going to be the more challenging. Actually, the first one and the third one here are going to be probably the most challenging. Why is this one the most challenging? When we look at this shape that's given, we know, and I'm just going to work ahead of time here, we know the length of this side. That's given information, it's 31. For some reason, we only know the length up to that point there, and that's 8. Now the 30, and it should be marked a little bit more clear, so it'll probably be marked on a sheet or a test a little bit more clear like that. That height there is 30. So we're missing 2 pieces of information. So I'll circle those in red. I am missing this length here, and I am missing this length here. So length 1 and length 2. All right. So this bottom length, what will the length be for that missing segment? Well, what's been drawn here, if you take a close look, this 8 meters is for the base of the triangle. We need to know the width of the rectangle itself. That's what we're looking for then. We're looking for the width of the rectangle. The rectangle has a semicircle or half a circle sitting on it. So if we could find the radius or the diameter of the circle, we would then know the width of that rectangle. So if we look at the circle itself, we see that the radius is 10 meters. So that means that if we were to lay this out flat, the distance from outside of the circle to the middle is 10, and from there to there is 10. So that means our missing length of that rectangle is 20 meters. So that's area 1, or perimeter area, missing area 1 taken care of. How do we take care of the perimeter of half a circle? Okay, well, all we got to do is we got to use our perimeter formula for a circle. In this case, you have no other way to do it. We're given the radius, so 2 times pi times the radius. Okay, so 2 times pi times r. Oops. And when we calculate that, 2 times, remember pi is 3.14, and the given radius is 10. So we end up with 62.8 meters. However, this is the measurement or perimeter, so the perimeter of a full circle. So we want half of that. Okay, so I'm going to take half of the perimeter, and that's equal to 62.8. Divide that by 2, and we end up with 31.4 meters. All right, so there's our missing value, the 31.4 meters. So now we can go ahead and we can calculate the perimeter of this shape. And like I said, it's going to be the more challenging one because there's a couple steps involved. Starting with 31 and moving clockwise, keep track, I would have 31 plus 8 plus 20 plus 30, and then around the circle at the top, or the semicircle, it's 31.4. So there are the measurements for the outside. Once you get those measurements, it's fairly straightforward. It's that tricky part of going through and finding your missing values. So my measurement here would be 120.4 meters. So therefore perimeter is 120.4 meters. All right, so the most challenging part for you is going to be finding those missing values when they're not provided. And the information, there is enough information there for you to work your way through. So we did have to do this as an extra step in order to find that. So we had to find the perimeter of a whole circle with a radius of 10. We then divided it by 2 to get the radius or the perimeter of half a circle. That then allowed us gave us the missing piece. You're going to come across a couple questions like this. Try them out. If you have any problems, very, very important that you talk to me and get some help.